Hello and welcome to Some of My Friends Read Comics. We've got Vince.
Oh shoot, does Black Panther even have like a tagline?
We've got Chris.
Where did these pants come from?
And I'm Kia. Hello. Vince, you did not seem prepared, or maybe that was just perfectly well acted. I don't know.
I would sell my soul for a good catchphrase.
There we go. Wonderful. Hi, everybody. Today we are talking about the Black Panther. Why? Because we want to. That's why. We are reading his run by Christopher Priest, who kind of reinvented the character a little bit, brought him back into the spotlight, kind of made him a little bit more than just Marvel's token black character, and did some kind of creative stuff with him. And this was from the late 90s is when it started. We're reading his first trade. It was called The Client, the first 5 issues. Art by a lot of different people over the course of this thing. Mark Texeira does the majority of this stuff. I like his art. A little bit muddy sometimes, but it definitely looks better digitally than on paper. I don't know. I really enjoyed seeing these digital versions a little bit more. They've also, this whole thing has very recently come out, been re-released digitally because of Black Panther's newfound popularity, which is great. Had you guys, Chris, I think you'd read this before, right?
Yes, I had. But I just want to add that I thought Mark Texeira was better when he was on the Rangers than when he went to the Yankees.
That really confused me, because I was like, Mark Texeira, he's a comic artist, and does he just draw in the dugout when he's not playing? Like, I was really confused, not realizing that he was there. I mean, I guess Texeira is not like an uncommon last name, and Mark is definitely a common first name. I just assumed that they were the same guy and not different people. The same way I thought Ralph Macchio, the Karate Kid, was a Marvel editor, which also makes sense from a career move if you ask me. But
I think it works. Yeah,
I figured Mark Texeira had a lot of downtime on like the buses, driving between places. Baseball's a slow game. He can draw some Black Panther art, or did he do a lot of DC art later? Is that what he did?
I don't know. I haven't read a whole lot of his other stuff. It does tend to have that similar style. I remember seeing this kind of. It looks almost painted, but not quite. Like, it does have a very nice feel to it. I don't know.
I don't know, because this book has it jumps around a lot in time. It's not very linear because it's like having a mildly unreliable narrator telling you his story, and it's not linear between like flashbacks and stuff. And I don't think Texeira or the script does a very good job of communicating flashbacks. Like, we talked about this with Brian K. Vaughan books, like Paper Girls, or any of Vaughn's books, or like GLA, like how well like certain writer artist combos can do flashbacks and it be seamless, and not just by making it black and white. They do a really good job of knowing when stuff took place. Yeah,
you can just kind of tell. It doesn't work very well for me.
Oh, I disagree. Okay.
Well, now we should say, Vince, this was your first time reading this, right?
And this is the first time I've read any legit Black Panther comics at all. And I knew this was a good place to start.
Chris, I know you disagree, but I got to sort of piggyback off of what Vince said real quick, because this is my 4th time reading it in the past 2 years. I'll get to why later, but I still, even for the 4th time, I had a lot of problems just kind of following different pieces of it. I know what's going on overall, but it's still jarring to me. But yeah, well, what's your 2 cents, Chris?
I think, it's going for a style. It came out in 1998. It's a Pulp Fiction influenced style where they have titled vignettes. And it's intentionally vague about when things are going on, but it's really not that hard to figure out when things happen.
It's not. It's just...
I think it took me about 3 issues for me to figure out the rhythm of the book before I'm like, oh, okay, I know what's going on. And I think that's when the artist change happened, honestly.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot that this book does that I really love. The whole political intrigue, which comes in a little bit later in the series, past these arcs. I love the sense of humor that it has. I just love so much about it. But I think for everything it does right, it also kind of fails at something as well. And there's something that goes along with the clarity where you don't necessarily feel engaged because it jumps around so often. It's hard to find something to latch onto and kind of say, "Oh, okay, I really need to know what happens next." Like even a lot of the cliffhangers, it's just like, "Oh, now there's somebody we've never seen climbing up behind the Black Panther. Is that a good guy or a bad guy or what's going on with them?" Okay, cool. Well, I guess it's over now, and just with no mention of it. Little things like that. Which kind of they bother me because it is I think a very well conceived story that sometimes just fails a little bit on the execution. But gosh, I feel like we're already talking a lot about this thing before we've even talked about what it really is. So how about we kind of go through and talk about what's going on in this story. Like Vince said, it jumps around a whole lot in time. So let's do our best to summarize this whole thing. Black Panther is from the fictional African country of Wakanda, right? And there's this other guy over there who is named Achebe. He's like a crazy madman. He wants to take control, and so he makes a deal with the devil, a.k.a. Mephisto, or like one of the devils.
Yep, and things fall apart.
Makes a bunch of stuff happen over in America. Oh, I see. You're making a reference to that book, right? Things Fall Apart. Is that Achebe's the author of that, right?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Getting literary, third world literary.
Good one. Good. And the Black Panther has some like children's charity thing over in America that has been kind of corrupted, and now it's like a front and a money laundering scheme for a bunch of drug cartels or something along those lines. And so he's got to come to America and fix it. And while he's in America, Achebe is going to swoop right in and take over Wakanda. Cool. But while Black Panther is in America, he has a Everett Ross. What is he?
He's like an American like handler. He's nothing like the Martin Freeman character from the Captain America movie.
Yeah, Martin Freeman in that movie played the Everett K. Ross character, and I do believe he'll be reprising that character for the Black Panther movie. I'm not sure in exactly what capacity, because he is pretty much the main character of this story. It's kind of like everything is seen through his eyes, and sometimes we focus a little bit too much on him, I think.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. But he is there to kind of like, be sort of an ambassador for the Black Panther while he's here in America. And so he goes to pick him up at the airport in his car, and Black Panther has like 1 million people with him, that kind of thing.
They can't all fit in his Mazda Miata.
Oh, no. He's constantly screwing up, constantly in this thing, walking around without pants. Yeah, it's weird stuff. Although I will say a lot of the humor does come from him and his sort of awkwardness of fitting in with the Black Panther and his crew. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But overall, it just kind of it is a good way to tell a story about a sort of an outsider, seeing this outsider from sort of every man's point of view. Yeah, that's kind of it. He doesn't really have much of an impact on the story, though, does he?
Well, he hangs out with Mephisto the Devil in a hotel room for a little while.
Not a hotel room.
Yeah, it's like a crappy apartment in New Lots, Brooklyn, which is way south of here. Not a great area of town. Yeah. There's a lot of weirdness. Like at first, the first issue is all about like, trust me, I'll get to the part where I lose my pants, that kind of thing. And all this sort of jumping around in time, I get it's a cool style. I'm glad he's trying something different with comics, especially around this, late 90s style time period when comics, I feel like, really needed something a little bit different.
Speaking of that, this is a Marvel Knights comic, and by the timeline, an early Marvel Knights comic.
Right, it was one of the launch titles.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, mild history lesson, Marvel was in the shitter in the mid-90s, like real bad.
Like all comics. companies.
Yeah, everybody was buying issue number 1s thinking that they would be like, super valuable. So they'd buy like, 10 copies of issue number 1s. And basically it was called a speculator market and the bottom fell out. And also comics just were really crappy because I'm going to blame Bob Harris for this because I hate him. He was in charge of Marvel Comics and ran them into the shitter by thinking everybody hates continuity. We just need to restart over. This is the same man that brought you the New 52 about 15 years later. If you want to follow his track record. But as I recall, they just started kind of like licensing out or letting other people handle comics. And so Joe Quesada and Kevin Smith took over Daredevil, which was one of the big ones. And then was Christopher Priest even from comics, Chris?
Yeah, Christopher Priest had been an editor for Marvel in the 80s. Okay. And then famously did not get along with Jim Shooter, who fired him as an editor and then hired him as a writer.
Okay.
So he liked his ideas, but was basically just like, you're terrible at deadlines and the editing side of things. And so he became a writer. And then he was one of the co-founders, along with Dwayne McDuffie, of Milestone.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
He
was also big in the Valiant Comics universe. Well, I think before it was sort of a real universe. He did
Quantum and
Woody, which was kind of his. They have Exo Manowar. Yeah. They have a bunch of stuff over there. But was Quantum and Woody after Black Panther or before? I don't remember. It's right around the same time, I think.
I think before.
Mm-hmm.
So Marvel Knights was like kind of like a PG-13, more mature take on the Marvel universe. So there was, and eventually this led to like the Max line with Jessica Jones, and we've talked about that. But this is Daredevil, the Kevin Smith, Joe Quesada, Black Panther's here, and I believe the Garth Ennis, Steve Dillon, Punisher was also something.
Eventually, yes.
Eventually, yeah.
The launch titles was Jay Lee and Paul Jenkins' Great Inhumans, and Kevin Smith and Joe Quesada's Daredevil, and then this one, and a Punisher miniseries that was not good.
Okay, yeah, I'd say. I mean, overall, between that Inhumans, the Daredevil, and this, like, that's a pretty strong starting lineup. Even for the faults this book, that I say it has, it is. I still do really love it. There's so much that it has going for it, and it did so much for the character of the Black Panther.
It's not a 1998 Marvel comic by any stretch.
It really isn't. Yeah.
And it really. I read Marvel Comics: The Untold Story. It really pissed off a lot of people that like were working at Marvel at the time because they felt like if you gave us this amount of money and like an artists like this, we could give you a better comic every month. But like with the money you give us and the deadlines you give us, it's impossible.
Yeah.
But here Mark Texeira was playing for the Rangers and putting out a monthly book.
Good for him. The first two issues of this thing are kind of all over the place, like constantly flipping back and forth. And I think that's part of what you said, Vince. It takes kind of until issue 3 or 4 to really like get your bearings with this book.
It really takes until the Black Panther rushes in an apartment and punches the devil in the face that I started to get on board. Like that's the moment I'm like, okay, now I get the focus.
Well, because for whatever Ross's character is supposed to be, he's supposed to be sort of, showing the Black Panther around. They're barely ever together in this thing. There's like the scene where he picks him up at the airport, and there's a scene where he shows up and punches the devil, and that's it. Maybe like one or two others, I'm sure, but it just doesn't feel. Everything feels so very disconnected, and the time jumps just don't pay off for me. I guess the idea was like, oh, wait till we reveal that moment when I finally lost my pants. It's going to be hilarious. And I'm like, okay, it's fine, whatever. The better moment, I think, was what you referenced, Chris, with your quote at the beginning, when basically he sells his soul to the devil on accident for some pants, then tries to take them off, but there's just more pants underneath forever. I think that's a beautiful moment. This thing is filled with great moments, but you kind of have to just kind of go with it until it works. The third issue is a lot of flashbacks that are like back to like childhood. The devil is tricking Black Panther into like reliving his past and everything. and he accidentally kisses one of his Dora Milaje. The what does that translate to? It's like his brides to be that are also like his bodyguards that aren't really his brides to be. It's just sort of like ceremonial. It's weird. They were in the Captain America movie. They're gonna have a part in the Black Panther movie.
Like, okay, well, let's take a time out. Like, this is I'm gonna sound a lot like an SJW. I really don't like these characters, and I find them more problematic. Like now that I didn't read this, I guess, but I don't know if I would have found this problematic when I was 20, but I find it really problematic now because they're drawn very voluptuously, like very mature women. But Everett Ross goes out of his way to say they're high school age multiple times. He said Black Panther is the luckiest man in the world, no matter how you look at it. And I go, I can look at it.
Yeah.
And then
there's some problem.
And then I think it was issue 4. He goes, this is a literal quote: "If I had 2 gorgeous high school karate chicks to play with, I'd be like a fat kid with ice cream." I don't know how old Everett Ross is supposed to be, but these kind of like weird stabs at humor, I'm like, I can't tell if he's supposed to be the butt of the joke in this, or if he's supposed to be like the cool type that we like kind of want to be like he's an audience surrogate that's like, yeah, everybody wants to hang out with high school karate chicks and like hang out with them.
Wait, you don't know if Everett's supposed to be a cool character? He's not.
Okay, cool. Because
he's definitely not.
I thought he was the
Spoiler
mouthpiece.
alert.
I thought he was the mouthpiece of the writer, and I'm like, I have some problems if you're the mouthpiece.
No,
of the writer.
he's definitely not.
He's the mouthpiece. Okay. He's the mouthpiece of the African American writer, in the sense that he's like, okay, I'm going to have this character who's basically Black Batman, but if I just introduce him as Black Batman, I know that white readers will be like, well, I don't care about that guy. He seems strange and weird to me.
Okay. And here's the other thing that, that does make sense. You're absolutely right, Chris. It's another one of those, what does it add to the story, making them underage? Nothing. Like, there's no reason for them to be underage, which is just so, why? Like, I get it, it's ceremonial. They're just like his bodyguards, and it's there to keep all the other tribes around Wakanda kind of peaceful.
And I feel like I mean, the way I interpreted that is Everett just doesn't like it's his weird, American culture fixation on high school girls. Like, there's really nothing about them to me that I'm like, oh, clearly they're 17 years old. Like, there's nothing.
They're not drawn that way.
No, and at least one of them, I think the one that he kisses, was in the Black Panther book in the 70s with Don McGregor. So, like, she wasn't 12 years old then. She was probably she's probably like 17 then. And that was, some time earlier because I mean, it's confusing. They do a good job of summing up his origin here. But basically, he came to America for a few years. He has an American girlfriend. He hung out with the Fantastic Foursome. But now he's back in Wakanda, and some time has passed.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's kind of one of the, like, I think it does a good job. There's like 5 different plots that they spin out from this first arc, and one of them is like, have you seen your American girlfriend since you've been back? And he's like, no, I'm busy.
Yeah, this thing, like, this whole run definitely gets better and better as it goes, because everything does start to connect a little bit more, and there's less of the time jumping back and forth, all that kind of stuff, and everything just kind of gets into place. The Avengers show up a little bit, and Monica, the woman that he thought he was kissing in the flashback that turned out to be his bodyguard, she kind of shows up and she's a big deal. Yeah, all that stuff kind of adds up a little bit better. It's very tough just reading this first part though, because it's kind of representative of the whole, but not entirely. I don't know. It's tough to nail that down. But he, I got problems with it and I love it. I could say that over and over again. You mentioned the Fantastic Four, Chris, which that's another problem I have with this book is the covers. Not all of them, but issue number 3 has a cover with Black Panther fighting the Fantastic Four. I'm like, all right, that's pretty cool. And it's literally a single panel, which is a flashback in his head in the book. And I was like, really? You made that your whole cover? What the hell? And then the next issue, the cover is him fighting a whole army of the White Wolves, and it's like 5 of them. It's not bad. No big deal. Also, those white wolves really confused me because they look exactly like Black Panther's costume, but white. And so I was like, wait, what? Sometimes it just kind of looked like it was a different shadow on the guys.
But isn't that supposed to? I think I read like some synopsis to see where this went. Isn't that like supposed to be like his brother or something?
Yeah, like his adopted brother, who is a white man. Again, very tan, so it's kind of difficult to say, but I believe he's a white man who like somehow made his way to Wakanda, and it's his brother, and he leads what might be the secret police. Again, they show up for an issue and kind of aren't important in this at all, but like Chris was saying, they spin off later and become more important, and they're kind of part of all this political intrigue. But yeah, they're just kind of not very important in this, and they really only serve to confuse the whole story a little bit. Like, I even just remembering it and just reading this, I'm trying to remember why they showed up.
They showed up basically to test Black Panther and to be like, hey, you see, it seems like you need help. And he's like, no, I don't trust you guys.
That's kind of how he is. He's very silent in this. He just kind of goes around, does what needs doing.
He seems like he wants to murder. He seems like he wants to murder somebody, but those American laws won't let him murder people.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Like he
just like throws him.
I guess I'll just tie him up.
Mm-hmm. Throws him to some cop. Yeah.
Hmm?
I do like the part where after in issue 4, Everett Ross gets a bunch of flashbacks too about his childhood from Mephisto. And that's when Black Panther shows up, punches the devil in the face.
That was awesome.
And
that was awesome.
That was pretty cool. And rips his heart out, which Everett Ross puts in a pickle jar in the fridge. And that comes back.
This was the part where me reading this in 1998 was like, no way, Black Panther couldn't do that to Mephisto.
Oh yeah, because I guess
how do they explain it? They use science to like create some force field to nullify Mephisto's powers or something weird like that.
He's on our plane right now, and we've been monitoring him, so like we can do something. Mm-hmm, so he's got like something shiny around his fist, so he can punch Mephisto, steal his heart. It's awesome.
That is the Deus Ex Machina factor of this book, and kind of the run as a whole is a little annoying because it's like, don't worry, Black Panther has been taking care of it the whole time. And you're like, well, it would have been nice if you at least showed us that he was aware of what's going on or something. Like,
but again, this is how a lot of people write Batman. So
sure,
I feel it's a little unfair to like single out Black Panther. Like he's the only guy that they do this with.
Yeah, the Batman very much just is a Deus Ex Machina. It's like, and I figured it out. Oh, okay.
He pulls out his anti, Joker toxin thing at the last second, and you're like, oh, good thing you had it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Always bring it with you. Why? I mean, if you're Batman, why wouldn't you always carry anti-Joker toxin around?
Because you gotta carry anti-Bane toxin also.
Oh yeah.
Batman has a very deep rogues gallery.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, Black Panther's biggest problem is that he's making out with his hot karate chick girlfriend wives.
Yeah, she kind of goes crazy over it and falls in love with him and turns into a villain who just
spoiler alert.
Well, it's good stuff. Yeah, keep on reading for that. It's cool. Issue 5, Black Panther and Everett Ross go to hell together in order to defeat Mephisto's real form, I guess, or something like that. I don't know. I kind of like the way he finally defeats Mephisto. He says, hey, if you release everyone else's soul, I will give you mine. Oh, cool. Good deal. So Mephisto takes it. But Black Panther's soul is connected to the souls of all the previous Black Panthers, and it's too much for Mephisto to bear, and so the souls overwhelm him.
All the souls beat the shit out of Mephisto.
Yeah. Which is cool, but at the same time, like, how did you know Mephisto couldn't just handle it? Like, he is the devil. Like, he could have just taken all those souls and you would be fucked.
They've been monitoring him for weeks.
Oh, you're right. They've been monitoring him.
It's definitely, I mean, it's cool, but it's also crazy. But yeah, he, as a power play to, like, get information from Mephisto, he's like, yeah, I'll give my soul up, whatever.
This book starts with him leaving his country to investigate the murder of the girl from the commercial for his charity. And ends with him selling his soul to the devil to trick him, so that all the Black Panthers can eat the devil in hell. Like this book changes pretty quickly.
And what information did he even need from him? Because he already knew that it was Achebe, right?
Yeah, I don't even know what new information he got.
Okay. I guess he just kind of wanted to get the devil out of the picture, because I don't think he shows up again after this.
Mm-hmm.
But now, the cliffhanger at the end is that his stepmom over in Wakanda, she's working with Achebe. Oh, no. Oof. Tough titties, man. What are you going to do about that? What are you going to do? Good stuff. What else is there? What else goes on in the middle of this thing that we didn't talk about? Did we cover everything?
I mean, for the most part, there is a Jared Fogle-like character that turns himself in after Black Panthers and his girlfriends rough him up.
Yeah, everything with Black Panther in this book is pretty excellent. I just really can't handle the amount of Everett Ross.
Yeah, there's a lot of him. I remember a big complaint around the time as well, is that there was just too much Everett Ross. And I really do come to like the character, and I'm glad he's around, but it's just so much that doesn't add to the overall story and just kind of confuses things. There's I think the second arc or the third arc has a scene where Bill Clinton, current president at the time, was yelling at him to get out of the White House or something like that while he's on a skateboard. And it's not till 6 issues later that you get the payoff of okay, this is how we actually ended up in the skateboard in the White House or whatever. And it's not even that exciting of a reveal. And so I'm just why am I still trying to keep up and put all these puzzle pieces together when you could just tell the story in order and it would be probably more satisfying. So that's still my big problem with this book. Even rereading it for the 4th time, I just don't like that aspect of it. But I love just about everything else. Yeah, I think it's great. I
disagree because I think it's for the purposes of funny vignettes, it's fine. Also, Christopher Priest obviously was a big fan of Spin City because Everett Ross is just Michael J. Fox, but 10% really sillier.
Oh. I can see that. I can see that.
Yeah, definitely.
He's totally there's parts where, in this book, we haven't talked that much about the art. The art's very nice, except sometimes I think Texeira, I don't think he's photo referencing because it's also painted, but where he's very clearly just taking the Frighteners or Michael J. Fox and just I'm just going to put his face on here.
Mm-hmm. I want to say at some point they actually reference Michael J. Fox later on in the series, or mention Spin City or something.
There are a lot of dated pop culture references in this book.
There's a few that I was I'm missing what's going on here. It must be a pop culture reference that I'm not getting. That definitely happened a few times. There's one panel where he is bouncing on the bed, and he's drawn just floating in midair, upside down, doing a cannonball pose, head face down. I'm who, what? Who is doing that? Nobody can do that.
Michael J. Fox is a tiny guy. He can probably do that better than we can.
You're right. He probably could. Boy.
Black Panther probably showed him how.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, do you remember the time in Spin City when Michael J. Fox wore a spacesuit to have sex with Heidi Klum? Because I do. It was really weird.
Wasn't that a dream?
Yeah, I think that was a dream. But who's to say that Everett Ross's bed jumping wasn't also a dream?
That's true.
You're right. A lot of this thing could just be a dream. Who knows? Yeah. I feel like that's kind of it. Vince, since you're the one who's newest to this, do you think you would go on reading this, continuing to read it?
It depends. If there's less Everett Ross and more about Wakanda, I think I'm in. I think it's very interesting, Chris, the way that you articulated I think if the writer was thinking, and probably accurately in 98 when Black Panther wasn't much of a going concern, if you have a book about Black Panther and it's not grounded in some type of Western reality, I think Western readers would have a hard time reading it. But that's exactly what pushes me off from it. I'd like to see more stuff just in Wakanda. Does that make sense?
They definitely go there later in the series. For me, I'd say read the second arc And for most readers, I'd say you're good. If you've read the first two, you're probably good. But if you kind of want to see more of the Wakanda stuff, yeah, I'd say keep going. You're going to get more and more of that. And more of the political stuff. I think the book just gets better and better as it goes. I think part of that is just getting more and more used to the style. But yeah, I think he just kind of comes into his own and everything gets to be better plotted. All the arcs tend to get a little bit shorter, like 3 or 4 issues rather than 5 or 6 issues, which works really well for it. Except for that Deadpool crossover. There's a crossover with Deadpool, which I did not like in the middle. But other than that, everything else.
Priest was writing Deadpool around this time too, wasn't he?
For a very short time. It was like less than 10 issues, I want to say, or maybe right around 10 issues. Yeah.
But and the other thing that, I don't know, for me at least it's a light recommend because the art is very inconsistent after this.
You're right. They keep switching artists like crazy. Yeah.
So I had heard this run, and the reason I think I was attracted to it was I thought Black Panther kind of like stood up against like American imperialistic foreign policy, which wasn't depicted a lot in, definitely in Western.
That's more the second arc.
Okay, sure. That's maybe where I should start then, because that's what sounds the most interesting to me, just because that's like not really depicted in much of our fiction.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting. I mean, we're not going to cover it probably anytime soon. But it is the kind of retcon that is really good. You know, we talked about Swamp Thing not that long ago, which was, a famously good retcon where it's like you thought he was a guy who got turned into a monster. He's actually a monster who thought he was a guy. Black Panther, one of his villains is basically like, you only joined the Avengers to spy on them. And at the end of kind of the adventure, one of the Avengers, I think it's like Firestar or Justice or one of the new kids, are like, well, that's not true, right? Like, you didn't do that. And he's like, anyway.
Yeah.
Because that sounds interesting.
I really do like that.
Yeah, because I think what happens is, like, America wants vibranium, and Wakanda's like, no, we're not giving that up. And you could, given America's history, you kind of can know where that story might go. And that sounds terribly interesting to me. So I'd continue reading for that. This was kind of like, I don't really care about him beating up dudes in New York. Like, I read Batman for that.
Well, maybe, like I said, this did do a lot to kind of reinvent the character a little bit and introduce a lot of these things before it delved a little bit heavier into the politics. So who knows? Maybe when the movie comes out a year or two from now, maybe longer, maybe we'll go back and do the second one. That could be fun. Yeah, I'm always down to read more Black Panther.
And if you just want crazy Wakanda stuff, there's the 70s Black Panther stuff that was recently added to Marvel Unlimited, which is, I think it's fun. It's not, it's 70s comics, so it's not going to hold up the best, but it's basically Eric Killmonger takes Wakanda away from Black Panther, and for like 10 or 15 issues, he has to like fight all his goons and like, kind of take a country back. In basically 2.5 arcs worth of comics, so it's pretty fun, crazy stuff.
Some fun jungle action.
Jungle action, my God, yeah.
It was called Jungle Action, but it only because they were already publishing a comic with that name, and a African. Well, I guess he wasn't African American, but a writer came to Marvel and was like, "Can we use an African American character?" And not have like a white guy in a book called Jungle Action, because it was a Tarzan ripoff.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I see. Okay. Was that Khazar or was that?
It actually wasn't Khazar. It was reprints of some other Jungle Man that Marvel had. That they were just republishing 50s comimes.
What did you say? What were you about to say, Vince?
Yeah. Have you been reading any of Ta-Nehisi Coates' Black Panther run?
So I've read the first few, and then I kind of quickly realized, okay, he's not a comic book writer, so I think he's not. He doesn't write very interesting single issues. I can see where the story's going, and I want to read it, but I'm gonna wait until his run is finished so I can read it all at once, because I feel like that's the way it's going to be meant to be read with his stuff. I did enjoy everything I liked of it, but I was just like, okay, it's slow, definitely a slow burn. And so I'm just gonna wait a little bit. Yeah, that's all I got to say about it.
So what did you guys think of it? And Kia, why did it take you 4 times to start this book? Or why did you read it 4 times?
Oh, not to start. 4 times. So I read the whole Christopher Priest Black Panther series, fairly recently, within the last 2 years. But this first arc really confused me. And so partway through the Black Panther run, I kind of restarted, saying, okay, now that I've got a little bit more context, I'm going to restart it and be a little bit more comfortable with everything, kind of understand it all a little bit better, which I'm glad I did. The third time was because Black Panther was going to be in the Civil War movie, and so my girlfriend really wanted to kind of check it out, and so we read it together, and she did not want to keep reading after that because she did not like it. And the fourth time was for now.
All right. Chris,
that's it.
What did you think of this book?
I really like it. I think it was not my favorite of the Marvel Knights books when it came out. It kind of suffered for the fact that, and I don't think it's held up that great, but Joe Quesada's art on Daredevil was so good, and Jay Lee and Paul Jenkins' Inhumans for a time, it was one of my favorite books. It probably has fallen off a little bit, but it's beautiful. I think
that it still holds up. Yeah, the Inhumans book they did right there. We should do that eventually for the show because it's fantastic.
Yeah, we should. But and the art is so good. So this book kind of, I was like, well, it's fine. It's, it's better than this Angel Punisher comic, because the Punisher became an angel.
Oh, cool.
That was before he became Frankencastle, right?
Yes, it was before before Garth Ennis fixed the character.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so at the time I was kind of like, I don't know, it's fine, I guess. But rereading it, I think it holds up really well. The art's really good for the first 4 issues. It's a little unfortunate that then he leaves. So I guess, maybe the Rangers were in the playoffs or something. He just could.
Well, I got to disagree with you there because I think having a different artist come in and who was it who took over the last few issues? It just felt a little bit more clear. Definitely doesn't have as nice of a feel. And going back, I did miss it. But I think the first time I read it, I was like, okay, great. Finally, someone I can kind of tell a little bit more difference between the characters and everything. And I don't know, everything just felt a little bit more normal comic book, which I kind of needed out of it. Right. Vince Evans is who drew the last couple of issues of this.
Right. And it's also, I didn't notice it in 1998. It's a minor art thing, but they do that thing that would become more noticeable in the next 10 years of just copying the same digital image and then just copying and pasting it and putting different text over it. And it's used to pretty good effect, like when Mephisto is in the room with Ross. It's pretty funny because he's just not moving. Mm-hmm. But there's a couple of times, I think when Evans does it once, where I was just like, okay, there's no reason. Like, Ross is talking in 3 panels, and it's literally just the same face, same angle. I'm like, okay, this is getting a little lazy.
Yeah,
that's the school of Marvel Comics, as ushered in by Joe Quesada. Businesses artists love to do that. I mean, it makes sense. Sometimes it's funny because you can just kind of have like the same deadpan look if you copy and paste, but I still find it a little lazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, in a little,
In 1998, I'm sure people were like, "Oh, I don't even know how could this be done? Some kind of magic box?"
But what's weird is it looks like he colored each panel slightly differently too. Like he couldn't copy and paste the whole color, just the inking.
Yeah, it probably wasn't done the way, when you did digital coloring, Vince, because this would have been 98. So whoever colored it probably was, working on something where they couldn't just, copy the finished art and then just paste it.
Yeah, those people are lazy, not lazy enough.
In that panel you're talking about, he's also holding a coffee cup up to his lips. And so, at least, take it down for one of them. Give me something different. Get that coffee cup out of there. I don't know.
I agree.
We also didn't really talk much about his boss, Everett Ross's boss. She's not that important in this run. Don't even know why I brought her up then. Yeah, she gets to be more important later. But cool.
You know what I learned in doing the research for this is that this was not Everett Ross's first appearance. I just assumed it was.
Not. I actually was it in Kazar, who I just mentioned?
Yes, it wasn't an issue of Kazar.
Yes, yeah, some random like lawyer issue with the Savage Land, right?
Mm-hmm. I guess Kazar came to America for something and met Everett Ross.
Did Christopher Priest write that, or was it a different writer?
I don't think so, because he wasn't the regular writer of that book.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, if we keep on mentioning this Kazar guy, for those of you who haven't heard of him, he is just a Tarzan ripoff, and no, you don't have to know anything about him.
Wait, everybody remembers Kazar. Just pop in your old, I guess it's on Netflix or some kind, or Hulu or something, your old X-Men cartoon, and when Professor X is walking around in that jungle, he's the guy in the loincloth with the tiger.
Good stuff. He'd fit right into jungle action, man. He'd fit right in. So I think that pretty much closes the book on Black Panther. Any last words, you two?
Nope.
All right. Then I guess we will sign off for now. Oh, we do have to talk about what we're doing next time. It's back to DC. I am a big fan of Mark Waid's writing. We talked about him during a few things that he wrote. What was the Sherlock Holmes-y thing?
Ruse.
Ruse. That's right. Thank you. Ruse. He did that. He's doing Archie currently, which I really love. He did my favorite Fantastic Four run. Bunch of great stuff throughout the years. Kingdom Come, probably what made him very famous for DC. But his Flash run is where he got his start. And so we are going to read issues 74 to 79. It's a story arc called The Return of Barry Allen, the original Flash. The trade also seems to include an issue of Green Lantern number 40. Doesn't seem to be that important. Who knows? We'll take a look and see if we need to read it.
The Return to Barry Allen messes or talks to Hal Jordan, Green Lantern, or whatever Green Lantern was running around.
Yeah, whoever that was at the time.
Whoever, yeah. So yeah, I'm excited to check it out. I've never read a single Flash comic other than him kind of appearing in other stuff here and there. But yeah, like I said, I'm a big Mark Waid fan. Have you two read this?
I started reading Waid's run. I actually have been working my way through it because it was actually, I believe, his first like professional comics writing. He was previously an editor, and there was a collection. I don't think it comes up to Return to Barry Allen, the one that just came out maybe a month or two ago, with like a few annuals of Waid's and maybe like 10 issues. But it's good. He has Waid is a classic writer who knows like the history of everybody in DC and Marvel. I think he used to just like write on little index cards like every single little factoid about superheroes as he read comics growing up. And Chris, correct me if I'm wrong. Cool. He's like the he's like the first generation of comic writers that grew up reading comics. So, as opposed to people.
Oh, that makes sense.
Or just opposed to just like old men, who writing comics for kids.
Right.
Him and Busiek were that way, and I believe like sometimes DC would have like their like official like encyclopedias, and they would have facts wrong, and then Mark Waid would correct them. So.
Very cool. And Chris, have you read that Flash stuff before?
No, I haven't. I don't read a DC book.
All right. So we'll see what it's all about.
I only read cool X-Men books.
Whoa, awesome! Snicket.
So you don't read any X-Men books, right? Oh,
not since like 1999, or I guess 2003 or so.
Yeah, there we go. Good answer.
Grant Morrison was probably the last one.
I think so. Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's it for us. Thanks so much for listening, and we hope you will join us next time for The Flash. For Vince and Chris and myself, Kia, thank you so much, and we love you. Bye.